Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the OK Run Show. This week, unlike most weeks, we will not be recapping. Instead, we'll be previewing. We're going to start out with the large school regional meets happening this weekend. Sean's been hard at work writing a bunch of previews that are up and live on the site for free. So go check those out. But Sean, what are some of the storylines that we should be looking out for in these 5A, 6A regional meets?
Well, you got Edmond Memorial, you got Union, you got Norman, and you got Holland Hall. Most of those are pretty balanced. I would say for Union, I mean, you got a lot of the sprinters because you got Jinx and Union, and then for Edmond Memorial, sorry, we have kind of the same thing. There's a couple good distance kids. And then for Holland Hall, you got Broken Arrow, Bishop Kelly. That they actually they have some. It'll be in Owasso, so I'm kind of interested to see for who's the who's the good Owasso girl? Bella Nelson.
Yes.
Sorry, it's an early morning. Bella Nelson. See how she does because she hasn't raced that much. This is kind of her first time to have to race the events because I'm assuming she's going to want to run the 4x8 800
Yes.
mile, 2 mile.
We haven't seen her really do more than maybe two events, and one of those events being usually a relay. She usually run like one open, one relay event. And obviously in a relay event, you don't really know how well people actually ran unless you're there watching them and have a stopwatch on them. So I'm excited to see her probably in 4 events. She's talented enough. I think she'll qualify in 4 events and be able to cruise some in. And of course, someone's going to go, oh, she only ran this in the 2 miles. Like, yeah, she only needed to run that in the 2 mile to get in. So I'm not expecting her to put together some otherworldly performance. I hope that happens, next weekend at the state meet. I know a lot of people were talking about Norman being a very stacked regional, and I want to say they're correct in that it's very stacked on the distance side. But I think the USAA, as much as we occasionally like to knock them for stuff, they did a good job of separating out a lot of your good teams in the different regionals. That's why I don't feel like we're gonna have a state, a pre-state meet as far as team scores go at any of the regionals. But there's a lot of implications for a lot of the distance events. Let's actually go through all the distance events at that Norman Regional and kind of give it a little take on what we think is going to happen. Let's start with the 800. Let's move to the 800. Sean's pulling up the entrance, which can be seen on milesplit.com right now. Although we have noticed that, especially in this event, Westmore has not entered their athletes in, but they do still have another like 8 hours to enter that in. So, Sean, kind of what are you seeing here in the boys 800 meter?
I think it'll be interesting because you got my pick is going to be George Simon from Deer Creek.
Why? Give us that's a bold take because you have Noah Thayer, you have Tyler Schwartz, you have Brody Woodcock entered, you have Colton Bennett, I assume will be entered out of Westmore.
Yeah.
Like that's a bold take to put George Simon as your winner.
Listen. I see the vision. Okay, because here's the thing. Brody Woodcock and all them dudes are gonna be running out there. And George Simon, all he has to do is just sit on them. Because I mean that's what I'd do. I'd sit on him. You sit on him, let Noah Thayer do his thing, whatever he want to do, it's okay. And then you just sit right behind that man. And then when it comes down to that last 50 meters, you kick. So that's why I'm taking somebody that isn't one of those bigger names because I think it'd be interesting, A, but B, I think when in a regional meet, a lot of times they're trying to save their legs too. And I don't know what other events George Simon is listed in besides the probably like the 4x8.
I'm sure he'll run the 4x8.
I don't think he runs the mile.
I don't believe he runs the mile.
We can look at the result. We can
which also you have a limited number you can take to a meet, to a regional meet.
Yeah.
I believe you can only have 3 entered per team. Per team per event.
I think so.
Per team per event, 3 entrants.
Yeah.
So they've got 3 guys that are all like under.
Actually,
I believe you can
No.
only have three.
I
Let's
thought
throw a
I
save
thought
on
I
that.
saw like the union board is what I had. Never mind. Yeah, he's right.
Someone's gonna comment. I don't know, but I believe it's only three. Also, if you don't know how qualifying on the state works, they take top three of every event, automatic bid to the state. You're guaranteed you're in. Then once they get three from each regional, that's 12 total. They want to have a field of 16. They take the next four fastest times between the regionals. And with distance being a little more heavily weighted at the Norman region, you'll see probably a couple at-large bids in the three events. So you'll get like probably one or two guys out of the 800 extra. So I can see probably the top five in this region going through, which checks out because I think the top five are all like 156 and better. And also like the next fastest after that's a 158. So that guy, sorry, Colby Moore of Edmond North, slim chances of you getting in, but hey, may happen. Crazy things happen. Let's move to the 16. Another one that's again very stacked. A lot of the same players here as well. Let me give you the top entrance once we get this scrolled up there. There it is. We have, of course, Brody Woodcock. He's been dominant all year. 411 seed time.
He's winning.
All right, we already got the prediction out, Sean.
He's not losing a mile this entire year. I'm convinced, bro.
Noah Thayer seeded at 413.79. Cam Langdon 417.46. Zach Rutherford 418.39. Tyler Schwartz 425.55. Daniel Collins 429.3. And Carson Patton 429.55. That's all your guys under the 430 mark. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. The max you could mathematically even take out of a region 7. So one of those 7 guys, or two of those 7 guys more likely, are not going to make it through. Who are the 2 guys that you think are not going to make it through in the 16? If you had to pick 2 guys out of that list. Based on, because you're about to see all these guys race.
Carson Patton and Daniel Collins.
So you're gonna take the top 2, like slow. Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's a fair
probably.
like reasoning. Yeah, I mean
But
they're both 429.
I'm not trying to like pick y'all out of a group. I just
no, we do love all of you guys because we have got to talk to a lot of you guys like in person, and you guys could probably beat us up in a fight. We don't want that. Honestly, I was
How
gonna
would you just be really cool and pick Brody Woodcock to not qualify? Do it.
I can't. Well, no, he's good enough. He's just not gonna not qualify.
Hey, maybe he steps off the track. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened.
I mean, yeah,
not to him.
Not to. Yeah, I was saying I can't remember him doing that. I wanted to. I was gonna say
Keegan Thomas next.
I was gonna say, or we could just get actual Keegan Thomas. I think he's injured right now, but we'll bring him with us to Norman. Maybe that'll scare somebody off the track. I don't know. He's not that scary of a guy. He's actually like a super nice and goofy dude. I love Keegan. Honestly, I was gonna say Tyler Schwartz, but his performance at Coac, I'm like, dude, he actually does bounce back well.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy that does bounce back. So I was thinking like who's racing the other events and could come in tired. I'm actually gonna take Cam Langdon to not make it. And I hate to say that. If only 5 go, if more than 5 go, obviously he's making it. But if only 5 go, I think Cam Langdon is not going to make it because I've seen he ran 417 at KU, so he's coming together at the right time. And I hate saying this, but I've also seen him go like 430 something in some races against these guys and not have as much consistency. So sorry, Cam Langdon. I'm going to pick you to not make it, but I think there's a chance 7 make it and everybody goes through. Moving over to the 3,200, your top seeds are Brody Woodcock, his 407 from KU Relays, Zach Rutherford, his 911 flat from Coac, where he did beat Brody Woodcock, Cam Langdon, 918, Graham Mitchell, 936, Carson Patton, 937, Brady Conway, 946, Cole Davenport, 947. That's everybody under 950. Sean, how many in this event do you think go through?
4.
4.
I'm gonna say Woodcock,
Okay.
Rutherford, Langdon, then probably Graham Mitchell. He's
Graham
had a
Mitchell.
rough season,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't. I think
I think he's coming back
I
together.
honestly wouldn't be shocked if Graham wins.
See, I think
I think this is gonna be slow. This race.
so yeah, I think this will be the one that they
Slow,
yeah, they're still gonna run like 9:30s.
yeah.
I think Graham Mitchell in cross season ran the fastest 5K of anybody.
Yeah.
Even faster than like Woodcock did, even faster than Rutherford, who ended up winning on the state meet. But he got injured late in the cross season, which he ended up not running as well, obviously, at the state meet due to that, not as well at NXR, which I believe they could have qualified for NXN had they had a full, fresh, healthy team. But obviously, that's in the past. We haven't, like, we've seen him, especially early in this season and indoors. He was running stuff that, like, honestly wasn't notable. It was honestly more notable for how slow it was compared to how good we know Graham Mitchell is. But Graham Mitchell, as of late, as of the last 2 or 3 weeks, has started to kind of put it back together.
Yeah.
And I think of anybody to kind of I don't know if say shock the world. I don't think he's going to win. Because I think, as good as he is, and even if he gets back to most of 100%, I still have a hard time picking against Zach Rutherford or Brody Woodcock at state because these guys all get to go into that 3,200 fresh.
Yeah.
So they all race that 3,200 on fresh legs. I'm going to pick my early state prediction, assuming all these guys get in. I'm picking Zach Rutherford to be my state champion in 32 over Woodcock.
That's a gnarly pick.
I'm going to pick it. He got it. Okay.
Not that crazy,
it's not that crazy. No, it's not that crazy. Here's my logic behind it is Rutherford beat him in the 3,200 at Coac. And like, it's not like after that race, Brody Woodcock is now popping off.
Yeah.
He's been popping off all seasons. Texas Relays, he ran 4:11. KU, he had a good race. They had good weather. He got obviously help from, he wasn't first place in that race. So he got to actually genuinely race people that whole time to run 9:07. I think it's going to be a great race between him and Woodcock. And I could see Graham Mitchell, his resurgence going all the way to third. But I do just think Brody Woodcock, Zach Rutherford right now are a tier or two above the rest of the guys in what I believe they can run. And so I think I'm going to pick Zach Rutherford.
That's fair.
Also got cross country title. Like he didn't run as fast during the regular season.
Win state. Prove the haters wrong.
Graham Mitchell wins state. All right. So that's kind of, we know Norman was kind of a very talked about regional when the regional meets came out as everybody was like, oh, that's really stacked in the distance. But sometimes, you get a casualty of that because, well, the teams, if you're the OSA, you're trying to separate out the top teams. You're not trying to separate out top individuals in every event because that would be impossible. Is there anything else we're missing out of the big school regionals that we feel like should be
I haven't even
noted?
looked at 5A yet. I'm getting on that. So I
Yeah.
can't answer any 5A.
I feel like they're mostly going to be uneventful.
That's usually
most people are
how
going to
the
get in.
regionals are.
Yeah.
Well, depend. Like
I think in a region like that where the distance is stacked, I do believe, I don't want to pick on Carson Patton or whoever I said was not going to make the team. I just think one big guy is not going to make it. That we're like, if going into the year, if we sat here with a list of all the 6A guys and we read them off, he'd be a guy that we'd pick to go to state almost indefinitely because he's one of the big names in the state. But I think some guys are going to get left out that aren't, we wouldn't foresee this had the regions been spread any differently. So moving on to the small schools, we got the state meets this weekend, 3A, 4A, they're at Catoosa, A, 2A are at Western Heights. We're going to start out with the 4A, 4x8, and then probably end up breaking off down into the other distance events. Sean, 4A, 4x8. I know this has been a kind of a hot button topic on our Instagram stories.
And Cash Boys, they love the top.
They do.
I'm gonna go Heritage Hall
You're picking
because
Heritage
they
Hall.
have a 155 anchor leg, and I think that wins.
You think that'll win it?
Yeah, because if he's the anchor
Mm-hmm.
and they're 4 seconds behind, it's 3 seconds behind. He still has a chance.
I think they'll be.
And if he's a guy that like
Mhm.
really can get after it,
Yeah.
then
He's a 49 low 400-meter man too.
they're winning.
He's a
Look at-
49 low 400
When
meter
he has
man.
the speed and he can chase people, it's
Mhm.
almost better if they're behind when he gets the baton. I feel
Fair.
like
I think that's fair.
because he can just chase a guy. It's easier to
I think
run
that's fair.
that way if you're just chasing a guy about to have like 10 meters ahead of you, and then you just kick.
So this has been an interesting topic of conversation somehow all year. And I actually think it'll be a great race at the state meet. Because you have 4 teams that I think have genuine shots of of winning it. You know, heading into the regional meets, Plainview had run 8:20. They had the state lead for most of the year or most of the last few weeks. Cash had run like 8:21. Heritage Hall had run like 8:22. Bethany, before the Weatherford meet, had run only 8:25, but Bethany's the cross country state champs. They got it done when it mattered in the fall. They have Levi Johnson as their anchor. He's run 157.
That's pretty good.
That's tough. So they also have a good anchor. They've run, I believe they ran 8:17-ish at the meet before regionals. Regionals, they just had to qualify. I don't think they ran anything too spectacular, something in the 8:20s to get in. But I think the Cash boys are going to think that I'm just their op trying to bet against them. I'm going to bet Bethany. I'm going to bet Bethany. I think that they've proven they're great distance runners. They haven't quite proven as much chops over the middle distance events, but I think a 157 anchor. I think what's going to happen is Cash and Bethany are going to be kind of out front. I think Heritage Hall, yes, they have a 155 guy, but the rest of their team isn't super strong. And I think they're going to be too far gone that even his 155, even if he runs his PB, he's not going to be able to catch Cash and Bethany. And when it comes down to it, unless Cash can bury Bethany over those first 3 legs, I'm picking 157 over Cash has maybe a 159.
If he plays that one song by who is it by? Meek Mill, Dreams and Nightmares.
Dreams and Nightmares.
He plays Dreams and Nightmares before his final anchor leg. He'll win. Trust.
Hey, that is the actually little inside running here. So as I trained with the OSU cross country team, I learned about heading into the year that they got second. So last year, they actually before every race would sing "Dreams and Nightmares" by Meek Mill on the start line together, and I think they continued it into their state title run.
Their national title?
Their national title, not state. I'm so wired into state track meets right now, but I believe singing Dreams and Nightmares on the start line is the key to winning titles.
That's intimidating. Well,
so
never mind, actually.
And they rap the whole thing. It's actually kind of impressive.
The whole thing?
Yeah, well, all right. I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah, no, I don't know about that. 4A distance, honestly, is quite interesting. I think another event that could be quite interesting. And this one has a little bit of beef behind it is the 3,200 meter.
Give me Corbin Gay.
Galt.
I'm so sorry. Corbin Galt.
Give me Corbin Galt. I love Corbin. And somehow Corbin Galt is the nicest human being. You meet him, he's super nice. His interview at the OU meet after he won, I asked him, I was like, how'd your race go? Like, tell me about your race. And not only like maybe 5 seconds into it, he just goes, I just trusted God. God was there, gave me the strength, and I got it done. And that dude, like, you watch him run, you don't think he's gonna win. You're like, dude, he's already at full speed, and then somehow he finds the ability to hold guys off. And I genuinely think he's gonna do that, even though objectively, as far as foot speed goes, I think Zach Williams would beat it. Like, if we were to line up the 4A distance runners, like all your top guys in a 40-yard dash, Corbin Galt, I'm not picking to be top 5. Of everybody in that 2 mile, I'm picking him to maybe be 5th. But he somehow gets it done. He holds guys off. He won a spectacular regional like mile, only won by a little bit. OU, he won that by just a small margin, but he just manages to hold guys off. I don't know how. I think that theme is going to continue. I think Corbin Galt's my 3,200 meter pick.
Hooray.
Do you want to pull up the entries for the 16? Pull up the entries for the 16 and see.
State?
Yeah, it says state 4A. So that'd be 4A state meet. So while we get it here, I think the 3,200 is also interesting because there is probably 7 guys in that 4A division that have all broken 10 minutes, but nobody has run quicker than 9:43. So they're all within about 15 seconds. And some of these guys, maybe haven't run quite what they're capable of. There it is right there. Who do we think is winning who do you think is winning? We're going to test Sean's 4A knowledge. I know he's not as well read
1600
in the 1600, just 1600. We're not making you do every event. Who
Corbin
are you?
Galt.
You're picking Corbin Galt again.
Yes,
Back
sir.
to back. He's gonna win. He's gonna win 2 events. Hold him off. I mean, see, look at how like close to a margin of victory. He holds guys off and he comes up on the right side of the coin. I think Zach Williams is dangerous. He has run 4:26 at Texas, not Texas Relays, Texas Distance Festival. Levi Johnson, also a dangerous guy. He's run, I think, just under 4:30, maybe right at 4:30, and is a 1:57 guy. Another guy that everybody should keep an eye out for. I think the Will Blaylock guy of Heritage Hall, he's good as well. Could be interesting. He'll mix it up. I mean, he's run 4:28. Moving on, go back to our list of topics. Click to that. Clay McKinney, Class A. So
are they Class A?
They are Class A in track. So why this is, so they have a small ADM, which ADM is based off of your enrollment, and it's what decides what classification you're in for various sports. So based off ADM, they're a Class A school. But because they're a private school and you're allowed to, and I'm going to put this in air quotes because I won't say how many teams actually do this, but they're allowed to recruit. I know most of the private schools in the state don't really recruit, but they're able to. So some people complained about it and they got this private school rule in. But basically, I believe it's over a span of 3 years. If you get top 4 in a various sport so many times, you get moved up. And then if you fail to continue that success, you get moved back down. And then I believe the private schools have complained about that rule, and you can't go more than 2 events higher. But they're 4A in cross country because they have distance success. They're very good at distance. They've always kind of been very solid Regent prep. They've had one of the Maisie family members. I don't know how he's related, Jackson Maisie. He was good in my era of distance running. They were 2A at the time. But Clay McKinney has, I believe, a shot to break state records held by a man who's arguably the most successful distance runner the state's ever seen, Isai Rodriguez.
I think he is, probably.
I believe he's the most successful one.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a lot of successes in All-American here at Oklahoma State. He's now signed with Puma. He ran at the Olympic trials. He's going to probably run at the outdoor trials again.
About Isai.
Go ahead.
So I at Jinx America last fall, which is a track club in Tulsa. We were running, and Isai didn't have a pro team yet.
Yep.
So he was moving to, I believe, North Carolina, but he had some time. So he ran for Jinx America in high school. So I was there doing my thing. And what Jinx America does is with the thousands, they do this hill where you run up this hill, it's about 400 meters. And then at the top of the hill, you start 2,000, which there is a lot of downhill on that 1,000, but there is some uphill as well. It's probably slightly downhill overall, but you don't really feel it, right? So we're doing these thousands, and they're continuous. And Isai runs 10 of them. Okay, doesn't stop. Remember, 500-meter like uphill jog
Hmm.
to rest. He's he's running like 237, 236,
Hmm.
and then dropping like a 225 at the end of it.
I bet he didn't drop 225 at the end of it, or it's not a full K because 225 is like competitive on the track indoors
Sorry, it
in the
was
K.
228.
Okay, that's a little more believable.
It's believe, trust me.
I like
I
yeah.
saw it with my own eyes, bro. Listen, I'm not capping. Like I saw it on my own eyes,
I love
and I
Isai.
saw like the timer too,
Yeah.
and it's like 0.62, I think. Every time I've ran it, so
All right.
he a dog though. He's a beast.
He's a beast. There's a lot of tall tales of Isai that I've heard through the years
Yeah,
because
see,
he
I feel like if
was.
someone told me that he split like 220 like in the mile, I'd probably believe him, you know?
I love that guy. But anyway, his state meet records are 927 in the 3200. I don't believe Clay McKinney will get that. But I believe in the 1600, Clay McKinney genuinely has a shot at breaking the record because I believe Isai's record is only 427 state meet record. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, dying over here. Clay McKinney has run, I believe, 426, 425 this outdoor season, and I do believe he could sneak under it. Granted, it's tough because I mean it's the end of day two, could be fatigued, especially if it's hot out. You know, you may be tired by that point. But I believe Clay McKinney might break an ESIU record and get under that. And of course, that's cool because that's essentially the GOAT of Oklahoma distance running. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find anybody else that you could
Maybe
argue,
there's someone like way back
at
in the
least,
day that we don't know about.
yeah, but I mean, have they had success at the NCAA level like Isai's had? You know, granted, Isai didn't have as stellar of a high school career, you know, when competing for his high school, but also we need to remember he ran 14:53 his senior year, fall of cross country. Then he got hurt. He missed the outdoor season. He did not run a senior outdoor season to where he could have. I mean, coming off of the back of 14:53 cross country 5K, you would imagine he'd run like 9 low, you know, probably solo, be able to solo 9 low at the state meet,
Yeah.
you know, solo under 420. I mean, he did run a 1500, I believe, after the his junior year state that was like worth 415 ish. So, you know, but I think Clay McKinney could have a state meet record in Class A over one of the greatest guys to ever run distance in Oklahoma. Moving on to 2A, 4x8. This is one of my favorite events, mostly because I believe, I think I was a 2-time state champion in this event with my boys of Moreland. Moreland, after kind of my class graduated and then COVID happened, fell off the map. Because I remember the year after I graduated, they made the state meet barely, and they ran the same time I ran for the 3200 as their 4x8. So they like fell off a bit,
Struggle bus.
but they've had a resurgence of young talent. They have a kid who I believe is, I mean, he's genuinely way more talented than I am, especially at like the 8, and could probably break what I ran for 16 in high school as well. He's not as distance oriented, but 201 as a freshman.
That's good.
So they have a 201 guy, a 202 guy. This is in class 2A where 823, I believe, is the fastest time. You already are on pace for like 805 with 2 guys. So you have to really like slow down your other 2 legs.
Yeah.
Well, their leadoff guy is like a 51 second 400-meter guy. Just not as good. And he's my cousin, so I can kind of talk a little bit of smack to him. But if he would try a little harder in the 800, he would be like pretty stellar at it. And then they have a senior, I believe, is their other guy. They managed to get beat by 9 seconds at their regional meet, despite having 2 guys that went 201 and 202 later in the day, which that's crazy. I think, I mean, there's Hooker is run 823, Laverne ran 823, but my dark horse pick, I know Sean's probably not gonna have a lot to talk about this. He's not as well
Nah, it's
versed in
not
the
at
small
all.
schools.
I'm getting there though.
I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick my. I'm gonna be a homer. I think if and when we talk about 6A 4x4, I know Sean's gonna always pick Union, even if people were to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
But
ahead
then
and
again,
say in advance at state. I know I'm kind of unbiased and I try to be, but I will be cheering for Union High School at state.
gotta cheer for
Sorry.
the place you're an alumni of.
Yeah.
And like I don't believe I'll be at the 2A state meet to root for Moreland like on hand, but of course I'm always picking them to run well, and I would love to see them run fast enough that they break whatever our 4x8 school record is, which is like 820, just under 820, I think, eight
Yeah.
teens. But I think they're a dark horse pick, even though they were 9 seconds back at the regional meet. That squad, if they can put it together at the state meet, they could beat. They're talented enough to beat Hooker. They're talented enough to beat, Laverne. They're just not super consistent. But if they put it together, they're my pick to win. And I believe that's what I have in the state meet preview. Moving on though to the women's side, we have two girls who genuinely could score 30 points a piece. They could win 3 events. Peyton Davis, she could win the 100, the 200, the 100-meter hurdles, and then her 4x2 is ranked number 2. Cameron Baggs, or Cameron, is it Cameron? Yeah, it's Cameron Baggs of Laverne, or Braggs, Baggs. I don't remember. I should know this because I do know a good amount of people from Laverne, but she could genuinely score 30 points in the 8, the 16, the 32. She has a chance to win all 3 of those. Her 4x8 is like middle of the pack, so I don't necessarily see them coming up to get a win for her to be able to like genuinely walk away with 4 golds. But of course, anytime in any division, someone has a chance to get 3 to 4 golds. Usually big talking points. We want to kind of at least give them a little shout out. She's got a chance to do that. Laverne's a fairly solid school. Stroud, I think, especially if Peyton Davis can score that many, could find themselves, second or third at the state meet. Don't think they have enough firepower to beat the women of Hooker, who are ranked number 1 in the 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, 4x8. The Hooker men are basically the same way, although I think they're number 2 in one of those. Plus, there's the chance of the 4x8 of them not winning. But yeah, that's kind of 2A, could be interesting. I'm always gonna like push to cover the small schools because that's my background, that's where I come from. And so I think that there is some interesting events at those state meets that are worth a follow if you're a fan of Oklahoma running. Moving over to the 3A, Cassidy. Cassidy used to be a school that was not even in the O State.
Sam Bass.
Remember Sam Bass? Yeah, he remembers Sam
He's
Bass.
still at Texas.
He is.
He's
been solid, especially this year. I believe this year he's been a little more solid. He's been kind of up and down through his career there. But I mean, that dude in high school, he would never race in Oklahoma, but would have the state lead.
He was the COVID year, senior year.
Yes, he was my senior year.
And
yes.
I remember
his junior year ran 9:12.
Yeah, he ran 9:12, and then he just could never get that sub 9. But
he ran 9:12 at Arcadia. I believe he may be the only guy to ever to have a stat like this. In his home state of Oklahoma, he never broke 10 minutes. But he had a 9:12 PB. Plus he had run well under 10 because their championship meet was like a private school championship league, which most of the schools are in Texas. So he'd always run fast in Texas. He'd go to big meets in Texas and run fast.
They're based out of Oklahoma City, right?
They're OKC. Yeah, they're an OKC school. But now they've moved to the OSSAA. Helen Olszewski is one of the top 100, 200, 400 meter sprinters in the entire state. I believe she's like top 5 in the 100, top 10 in the 200, top 15 in the 400, something like that.
Yeah.
She has a chance for triple gold. She's got over a second on the next closest in the 400, over half a second in the 2 and the 1. She's pretty well a lock to win those. Her sister's also good. And a fun fact I learned about Helen, track is not her main sport. Don't read that because it says it on there, I believe. What is her main sport that she's going to University of Virginia to play?
I'm gonna go badminton.
It's soccer, but yeah, close enough. Basically the same
Hey,
sport.
listen, those private schools have weird
They
sports
do.
too.
That's why I asked it. That's why I asked it.
Well, what's that one where you hit the ball with the
Polo
no,
on a horse.
no, like with the hammer? Croquet.
Croquet. Oh,
I
like
feel
that's a
like
yard game. That's not a sport.
yes, it is, bro.
All
They have a pro league.
right. I don't know why it's a pro league.
If you're from Cassidy, can you tell me if y'all have that sport?
If you do, you guys does
Croquet.
Cassidy have a croquet team?
I'm googling it.
And then I think the last thing we have to touch on, Graham Murphy. I've got it.
Okay.
You're good. He had a phenomenal freshman year. He jumped 6'10" last year. He's already jumped 6'10" this year. Had some bad luck at the regional meet, did not place, therefore did not qualify on to the state meet. Unfortunate, but of course his career is far from over. Still believe he'll be a 7 foot plus jumper in his career. And Sean has the croquet pulled up here on his computer. He's looking up, is croquet a professional sport? I'm
Not
reading
crochet.
it. I must
How
say
do
you
I
spelled
get-
crochet.
Not croquet, bro.
Is it with a K? Oklahoma's 49th in education. No, what?
Sport where
Just spell
I
sport and
hit
then croquet,
ball
like how you're spelling
with
it.
hammer
I wish we were.
croquette.
Yeah, it's with a
Like,
Q. Oh, that
croquet.
makes sense.
Cassidy High School.
They're not gonna have croquet.
Dude, listen, I'm
Just
telling
go to their
you.
athletics. See what sports they do have though. I'm sure they have normal high school sports, but if they do have at least one weird, yeah, they've got tennis, they've
Well,
got
tennis
soccer.
is
They have
good.
men's volleyball.
Oh,
Oh, they have field hockey,
do they have field hockey? That's a surprising one.
varsity field hockey. Field hockey, that's interesting. What's the red? Read the red. That's the winter sports. That's like PE.
Yeah.
Um,
They don't have
they don't have croquet.
But I will prove my point. My second point, croquet professional league. World
Yeah,
Croquet
of course, there's a governing
Federation.
body of this obscure sport that,
Look at this guy.
yeah, just an absolute specimen of physical ability. That guy's 85. That guy's shut up. That guy's 85 and like
it makes sense that he's old because the last time I played croquet was at my great grandma's house in Enid a few years back. Cooked her, but like,
oh, I'm gonna say, did your grandma cook you at sports? That's funny.
he was good.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
She
having
200.
I feel like that's the one benefit of sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the loss of muscle as you age. But that's the one benefit is that you just don't have the power to just nuke it.
Yeah, bro.
So I feel like
about precision.
yeah, and I feel like having you got less throttle to use, so it's easier to control. That's what I'm saying here is
See, this is why croquet is like aging. Because there's less power.
yeah, that's my entire point. Yeah, yeah.
So
That's why old people are kind of good at like pickleball. That's why they're kind of good until okay, they're good until like actual like athletes start picking it up, and it's like okay.
I'm convinced I can cook an old person.
Yeah, well, we had so at Washburn, our athletic trainers would play pickleball like once a week,
Yeah.
and one of our athletic trainers, former college tennis player, he would just cook them.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, it's not the same. I just don't have to hit the ball very hard, and I don't have to move as far.
I feel like
But it's basically the
pickleball's so
same.
funny though, because it's like a professional sport now. And
Yeah,
it's
dude. It's
really
weird.
funny.
What's a sport? Okay, this is my last thing we're gonna have on the pod. What is one sport, either an Olympic sport that you think you wouldn't get last in, or maybe
If it's the Olympics, we're getting last in everything.
what's something what's something you feel like you would not do like awful at?
At the Olympics, just in general.
in general. It could also be
basketball's an easy one.
it could be like, well, comparatively to the top, where do you feel like you could be closer to the top in a sport? Top of some sport. Like almost elite, like in
What do we consider elite?
so I'm saying like if for the Olympics you qualify for the Olympics, if you're like if it's an Olympic type sport, if it's something like you're croquet,
Yeah.
could you be a professional croquet player if you dedicated
My life?
your life?
Yes.
Like, okay,
100%.
okay, we're not gonna let you choose croquet because we've already been talking about that. What's another sport you feel like you would not be that bad at? You would actually be pretty serviceable at. My argument is I feel like I could do very well at modern pentathlon.
Okay.
That's my argument, is that like I feel like the reason my reasoning is one of the events is running. I have a background in running, right? That's great. I feel like I can learn to fence. It would be so much fun.
Oh, that'd be hype, dude.
One of the other events is riding a horse and jumping over barriers. Would be cool. Gotta learn how to like properly ride a horse because it's like show jumping. But they're thinking about taking that out and replacing it with an obstacle course run. Bang! Another event in my favor.
In my dreams, I'd be a cowboy sometimes.
Yeah. So do you think you'd be like a professional bull rider?
No, but I'm saying if I did that like modern pentathlon or whatever
Yeah.
the heck, my, if I can do the horse thing,
Yeah.
and then I mean
One of the events is a 200-meter swim.
Sometimes some things that people knew about me in high school when I was running is that I would fight people with lightsabers. So
Okay.
I feel like
Okay.
that would translate to fencing.
Okay. How's your swimming?
Yeah, it's fine.
And then
I'm not gonna drown.
the other event is air pistol shooting, which is part of the run.
Well, they also call me John Wick in some part of town, so
In certain parts of Tulsa, if you say the name John Wick, they don't think of the movie. They think of Sean Rutledge. Anyway, we'll be at the state meet, boots on the ground. Oh, go ahead.
The Thunder are back.
Shout out the Thunder.
I'm unhinged. And also, I'm just gonna go ahead and say in advance, when we're at 5A, 6A state, if the OKC are playing that night and we're still there, I'm leaving.
He's like, I don't care that you guys are having a moment you'll remember the rest of your lives winning a state title. Sean's got to watch the Thunder.
Yes, that is so fundamentally fair because they're having a moment too.
True, yeah.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Yep.
Fair.
J-Dub. Mm-hmm. Josh Giddey. Oh,
Anyway.
baby.
We'll be boots on the ground. I believe I'm going to be at 3A, 4A this weekend. I don't believe we'll have anybody at A, 2A.
Let's just hope. Let's just hope that Josh Giddey's on Oklahoma City.
All right. We're leaving that in because I don't think anybody listens this far in. 5A, 6A, both of us will be there. We're also going to have some help. We're going to be looking to try to get as many like finish line, like post-race interviews, a lot of that stuff. Pictures, videos, try to get the whole thing, maybe plan some fun stuff. I still do think we need a state coaches race.
For sure.
We need to put that together at some point, maybe meet a champions. I'll have to talk to the Track Coaches Association about adding a coaches 800-meter.
Yeah.
For anybody that can get an athlete to qualify, or even if you don't, just show up. If you're about that, just show up. Like,
and also, we're going to Oklahoma City Mile Night.
OKC Mile Night on the 18th.
Collins racing.
I'm gonna race.
I might.
Sean, we're gonna peer pressure him into racing. Even if he has to jog it, he's gonna race it. He's going to run 1 mile there.
As long as it's not super expensive for me to sign up, I will race.
There's a discount code if you. From the interview. There's a discount code in the last interview.
Here's what I'll say if anybody's still listening to this at the moment. I will go and I will run, but I don't know if I'm gonna race it.
Yeah, fine. Get in the open mile. And if you the open mile, not the elite mile.
Yeah.
The open mile, the community mile, the less serious mile.
Who won it last year?
I don't know who won the open mile.
I think it was
I don't know who won the open.
Was it Chavez?
Chavez probably he's usually, especially in this kind of meet. You're cooking Chavez. Deer Creek Mile Night was Hudgen out of Tulsa PBA.
Yeah, I'm cooking.
So okay,
5:15.
what I'm saying is it's $100 to the winner of the Open.
Good, yeah.
Why don't you try to win the Open Mile? You don't have to race the people that actually train. Well, I mean, actually train and are above.
And are like so much faster.
Yes, in the marathon. In the 5K, I will argue his abilities there against you.
Like 4:30.
Never mind, Sean, you're cooked. All right.
That's pretty good.
And on that bombshell, it's time to end. We'll see you guys whenever the next time we record a podcast, probably next week with a big state meet preview. Might have to do the fantasy draft next week. Maybe that'll be the episode.
Fair enough.
Fantasy draft will get, I think Chavez will be a guy. I need to reach out to him about that.
Probably release 2 podcasts next week.
At least, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then maybe we'll find someone else not associated with a 6A school that would be willing to pick people.
Go Thunder.
Go Thunder. We'll see you guys next time.